thank you again for coming to this event. There is going to be an interpretation. Number 2 is for 3 is for French, and 2 is for English. And also for video, I think it will be good if you use your earphones for hearing it clearly. As I said, this is the third in our series of events dedicated to the Declaration of Diversity. First event last year in February that we hosted here in this room touched on the British positive politics and policies promoting interfaith dialogue and government engagement. We also had the interesting example of plurinational constitution of Bolivia by the ambassador of Bolivia here. In our second event, we concentrated on multilingualism, and we had politicians from Switzerland talking about the linguistic tapestry of Swiss Confederation. In this third event, we are highlighting positive actions on racial, ethnicity, and class diversity. And our next event that we are planning to host in February session of the Human Rights Council is going to be dedicated on disability as a diversity. So we are really looking at diversity from different point of views and seeing it as an holistic issue. We are glad that we are gaining support for the idea of Declaration of Diversity and for the UN Day on Diversity. Let me introduce Biro Diawara. I think Biro is very well known in this room. He has more than 20 years of experience in NGO activism, especially bringing African civil society to the UN and other international areas. And without further ado, I will give the floor to Biro. Thank you, Biro, for being here with us.
Thank you very much, Albert, and my friend, Mr. Singh, president of Sikh Human Rights Group organization. I would like to thank you again for being associated with this noble initiative, which is directly in line with the objective of Interfaith International. As you know, why intolerance and racism are on rise everywhere today. Many countries have adopted the Durban Declaration Program of Action. My answer is simple because we have left aside the essence of our society with is the culture. For me, the culture is the essence of our life. 4 years after DDPA adoption in Durban Conference, in October 2005, UNESCO adopted the Convention on Diversity Culturelle in Paris, who reaffirmed that cultural diversity is a defined characteristic of humanity. Cultural diversity forms a common heritage of humanity and should be shared and prevent for the benefit of all. Je vais continuer encore en français un peu. Et comme vous savez, et il a bien dit, my organization, Interfaith International, was very active during Durban conference process, in particular indigenous, minorities, and religious ethnic group networking. We managed in Durban conference to raise the problem of discrimination against those specific group. It was after Durban conference, our organization deal was secretary of NGO committee against racism. You know, why today there is, after 20 years, same problem, there is same victims. Can we looking in the past and right now to move on? Your initiative is welcome. Because of the lack of implementation and the national policy on inclusivities and also the implementation action plans of Durban, there is no political clear orientation to reform national legislation to promoting diversity policy and inclusivities to stop and stigmatization of group, religious and indigenous people everywhere. Pour revenir en français, je viens de l'Afrique. I am from Africa, born in Africa, and I get my majority in Europe. I have education here in Africa as well. I have different cultures. I can say I am from somewhere. I am world citizen. I am happy to share my knowledge with you. You are Indian. I can get something from you. You can enrich me. And I can give you something as well. It depends our common values. Is a diversity. We can build society, more tolerant society, who we can live together by peace, tolerance, and mutual respect. It's very important. Si vous regardez un tapis avec une seule couleur, vous n'avez pas d'inspiration. S'il y a plusieurs couleurs, on peut se regarder, il y a l'harmonie, d'où la diversité, qui est une partie intégrante de la Charte des Nations Unies, doit inspirer aujourd'hui, à l'occasion de la 75e anniversaire de la Déclaration universelle des droits de l'homme et du 30e anniversaire du programme d'action et de la Déclaration de Vienne, nous mettre ensemble pour travailler ensemble afin de revenir à nos valeurs essentielles pour combattre le racisme, la discrimination raciale et avoir une volonté politique manifeste pour la mise en œuvre du programme d'action de Durban. Il y a les mécanismes existants qui sont là et comme vous le savez, le continent africain est un continent qui vient de loin, a connu la traite, l'esclavage et la colonisation. Nous avons adopté pour la première fois en Afrique la charte culturelle panafricaine. Avant l'adoption de la charte culturelle panafricaine en île Maurice en 1976, il y a eu le manifeste culturel panafricain en Algérie, dont l'objectif était de la reconnaissance de la culture africaine, du patrimoine culturel africain, panafricain. Qu'est-ce que l'Afrique peut apporter à l'humanité? Qu'est-ce que l'Afrique peut apprendre de l'humanité? Et à l'époque, la moitié, l'adoption de la charte des pays africains était sous joug de domination culturelle et de domination coloniale, et les cultures africaines étaient considérées comme des cultures inférieures. C'est grâce au dialogue, grâce à l'ouverture, et que l'Afrique a pu occuper sa place dans les concerts des nations. Et aujourd'hui, la culture africaine apporte au monde entier. Et comme vous le savez, l'Afrique est le berceau de l'humanité, a encore à donner et à donner quelque chose de spécifique à l'humanité. Et ce n'est pas pour rien que la conférence de Durban a eu lieu en terre africaine. Je suis témoin et nous avons organisé une de mes organisations, abrité la première conférence régionale panafricaine avant la conférence de Durban à Dakar en janvier 2001. Un de nos points de revendication, c'était les questions de réhabilitation des biens culturels pillés à l'Afrique pendant la colonisation et la traite, la restitution de ce patrimoine culturel panafricain et qui sont dans beaucoup de musées en Europe et aux États-Unis. Et c'était une des sources de nous, et aussi des questions de revendication qu'on a ramenées auprès de plusieurs chefs d'État et gouvernements africains. Donc, ramener le débat à la question de la diversité, aujourd'hui, nous en réjouit davantage et nous sommes prêts à travailler avec vous pour sensibiliser davantage les États africains à intégrer dans leur politique nationale législation, la promotion de la diversité, du partage et des biens communs. Et je vous remercie et je reste à l'écoute pour des questions et réponses. Et merci beaucoup, Monsieur Albert.
Merci beaucoup, cher Biro, pour ton intervention et surtout pour ton soutien pour la déclaration de diversité. Afrique est effectivement le berceau de la civilisation et il a beaucoup encore à faire apprendre le reste du monde. Et aussi, c'est très intéressant ce point sur le retour des artefacts et les symboles africains des musées européens et américains. Et je vois que maintenant, dans la presse, mais aussi dans le discours public, ils gagnent plus et plus d'importance. Et on voit pas mal d'artefacts maintenant qui sont effectivement retournés. Ils sont en train de négocier comment on va effectuer ce retour. Et je crois que ça reste un sujet très important qu'on peut peut-être même organiser un événement sur ça dans le sens de droit sur la culture.
On a déjà eu plusieurs séminaires.
Oui, oui. Second, we now have a video statement from a remarkable lady from Brazil who has been chosen by President Lula to be one of the 7 leaders to make diversity inclusive in the country. Her life story is both a difficult one but a positive one, on how simple changes in attitudes and positive actions by states can make people from different classes and racial backgrounds inclusive in the nation. She comes from a very humble background. I will let her tell her story. It's very early in Brazil, so we don't want her to stay awake for our program. She was initially prepared to intervene by WebEx, that's why we requested also WebEx, but it's 4 a.m. now in Brazil, so I think it's a bit torturing for us to ask her to be not to go to sleep. We have pre-recorded speech she just sent, dubbed in English, and also put before you in paper. I just distributed, and if you didn't get a paper, you can take it from the table in the entrance. President Lula has set up a team of 7 people from various backgrounds to drive inclusivity, and Aline is one of them.
Senhoras e senhores, nos encontramos em momento incrivelmente emocionante. Pense nisso por momento. Há muito que podemos fazer juntos, com todas essas grandes nações aqui presentes.
Ladies and gentlemen, we find ourselves in an incredibly exciting era. Think about it for a moment. There's so much we can do together with all these great nations, if we want. As we confront numerous crises, addressing them while preventing new ones demands a different mindset. We must adopt a cooperative rather than proprietary approach in our thinking and actions. We must eliminate the barriers that divide us and take proactive steps to celebrate diversity as an integral part of our shared humanity. There is too much talk and too little action. To enhance the quality of life on this beautiful planet, we must cooperate. Firstly, I want to apologize for not being able to join you in person or online. It's currently 4 a.m. in Brazil. I sincerely hope you'll all accept my pre-recorded message. Brazil is a remarkable country characterized by its rich human and natural diversity. Often referred to as the lungs of the world, it plays a crucial role in our global ecosystem. However, amid this diversity, we also encounter conflicts, both within our human society and our natural surroundings. Many are aware of the periodic damage inflicted upon the Amazon's extraordinary biodiversity. We are now in the process of recovery as nature tends to its own diversity with our assistance. But what about us, the human race? Brazil has experienced both challenging and prosperous periods. During challenging times, our society became polarized and fragmented, resulting in increased racism, violence against marginalized communities, and prejudice against diversity, including those of my economic and racial background. In better times, guided by effective policies and positive actions, our nation united. While we do have human rights laws that prohibit discrimination, racism, and homophobia, as an example, and as in other countries, these legal instruments are often ignored during difficult political periods. They become ineffective, and right-wing politicians engage in populist rhetoric against those advocating for equality and democracy. Our new government is striving for change. It recognizes that achieving the diversity and inclusion depends on more than just laws. It requires proactive measures to make diversity the norm. Brazil boasts the largest Black population outside of the continent of Africa, and a significant number of indigenous communities that have survived colonial genocide. People from these backgrounds, including myself, have endured years of hate, fear, and genocide. We have witnessed displays of swastikas in public spaces meant to intimidate and silence us. The law seemed powerless at times. However, we persevered, resisted, and brought about change through democratic elections. Our new leader is back and committed to uniting communities, respecting and celebrating diversity.
Estamos a trabalhar
He has appointed
para tornar a
7
diversidade
representatives,
aspecto
each a
valorizado
leader within
na
their
nossa nação.
respective communities,
Ao mesmo tempo,
to champion a
erradicando o
national
ódio e a
diversity
discriminação.
initiative.
Permita-me compartilhar
These
minha jornada
representatives
pessoal
include
com
our
vocês.
famous indigenous
Eu, como
chief,
meus pais e avós,
advocates for the disabled, leading women activists, LGBTQ plus advocates, domestic workers, and individuals like me, recyclers. This was to defend a national initiative for diversity. This will become a fundamental asset of Brazilian history. Allow me to share my personal journey. I, like my parents and grandparents before me, was born into homelessness. Violence and cruelty, which was nothing short of ethnic cleansing. We began to organize. Today, I am honored to lead one of Latin America's largest waste cooperatives. We now have real homes, employment, and have become an integral part of what our planet needs to thrive. Our contribution benefits not only humanity, but all species on Earth, benefits our planet and all life within, even the ruling elite. We now have a more quality of life and hope for future generations. Now, they recognize our value. I never would have imagined that I would be chosen with 7 other leaders to restore democracy on Inauguration Day. Now they seek our guidance in shaping social inclusion policies. Never could I have dreamed that I would be chosen as one of those 7 leaders tasked with transforming a country poisoned by hatred on the brink of civil conflict into a stronger democracy. However, democratic politics and diversity cannot thrive without economic democracy. We cannot eliminate racism without addressing classism. While many discuss diversity today, what good is it when we are perilously close to decimating our biodiversity? Environmental racism remains a pressing concern. It leads to landfills, incinerators, and hazardous waste disposal sites disproportionately placed in communities of color. I lived and studied these issues, and my life's mission has been to eradicate them. I overcame extreme poverty, prejudice, and discrimination, and I overcame it through education, reading books, and dreaming of lifting my family out of the cycle of humiliation that we endured daily. Today, the ruling elite is beginning to understand that we, once considered untouchables and invisible, are essential to the survival of all species on our planet. They now recognize that interconnectedness, love, and tolerant coexistence are natural laws. With the support of positive policies initiated by our new government, we are changing attitudes. Even recyclers like us are gaining respect and playing a role in policymaking. Laws alone could not have achieved this transformation, however. Positive actions and policies have been instrumental. This is why I support a UN declaration on diversity. Positive action is effective in Brazil, and it can work globally. I thank you for your attention and consideration. My profound gratitude extends to this esteemed family of nations. May God guide us all in our shared journey.
Para participar da efetividade da política pública, para construir, junto ao governo popular, políticas eficazes no Brasil e que podem funcionar globalmente. Agradeço a sua atenção e a consideração. A minha profunda gratidão estende-se a todas essas nações. Que Deus nos guie.
So we can see that positive action can help creating a more inclusive society, and I think Brazil's example, especially in current political situation, is quite interesting, and also Brazil is one of the big countries that we can actually see it's possible to realize if there is a political will and there is a political action coming from the government, a positive action. Our first speaker is the director of Sikh Human Rights Group, Jastev Singh Rai. He is ear, nose, throat surgeon in the UK. So don't upset him. He can cut also throats. But he also did MA in politics and has been in the human rights field for over 40 years. Sikh Human Rights Group first raised the issue of diversity, Convention on Diversity, back in 2001 in Durban conference. We are now calling it Declaration on Diversity. Back then, we didn't have a consultative status. Since then, Mr. Jastev has taken up the issue of Declaration on Diversity again. So I'm leaving now the floor to Mr. Jastev.
Thank you very much, Albert. I won't cut any throats. I tend to mend them rather than cut them. We've heard two very good speeches on why we need to move forward from where the stagnant position we are in at the moment. You might say, with so many treaties and declarations, why are we proposing yet another one? Let me say this. I think a declaration on diversity that we are proposing, and we hope that, Biro, you can also join with this, and more organizations will join to try and persuade states to introduce this. It will be a cross-cutting declaration that will strengthen almost all other treaties. The proposition is based on a very simple assumption. Legal human rights are necessary to ensure individual and communities can enjoy dignity, respect, language, lifestyle, cultures, etc. But they cannot eradicate the cruel authoritarianism, the prejudices and discriminations that inhabit the mind. Legally, you can stop people from acting, but you cannot, the law cannot change the mind. Only a cultural change can make people comfortable with diversity, with each other, and respect humans, non-human species, and biodiversity. Yeah? In today's world, the state has significant influences in the way people behave, accept each other, or deal with diversity. Diversity can be seen as differences that are entrenched by social barriers, politics, and cultural, or can be seen as a rich mosaic of nature in its many forms to be celebrated and enjoyed. So, you know, diversity can be seen as something that we want to stay away from, or it can be seen something that we embrace and celebrate. In Durban, I was there in 2001. There was a tremendous excitement and hope that the world would move together to break down barriers, eliminate the historical inherited prejudices and discriminations that lead to racism, xenophobia, and related intolerances. The hope was there, and I could feel it. Many people felt it, and people thought we are going to change the world, we are going to change attitudes, we are going to move towards a better world. Our small organization had introduced 3 ideas, and all became reflected in the text. The first was our position that without culture diversity or without culture parity, racial parity is meaningless. The message from pre-2001 Durban was, your color is okay, but your culture is not okay. Yeah? Culture became a significant part of the DDPA. The second was to achieve an understanding at Durban that communities like us, the Sikhs, are not discriminated intentionally, but unintentionally because of the shortcomings of language and legal categories. That too was resolved in paragraph 67. It is the third which surprised us that we found some resistance to. We suggested that we need to look beyond a world when racism will end and diversity will be embraced. The references to diversity was made in education, but not much else. Nevertheless, there was a general feeling that the world would finally start to end racism, a scourge that has been around for hundreds of years, if not more. As I said before, one could feel the excitement of the hope for a better world. 22 years later, we cannot say that the DDPA has failed, nor can we say it has completely succeeded. Our observation is that while the DDPA established solid and strong grounds for legal remedies and processes, there is also a need to change the minds that lurk behind the discrimination and prejudices. The state can legislate on action. It cannot legislate the ideas that shape our attitudes. Attitudes need a different strategy. That strategy is simply to encourage people to feel comfortable with diversity and gradually make redundant the ideas that deepen barriers and foster discrimination. The change in attitudes is not just the propriety of culture or belief, but politics and the state can influence them significantly. You can see populist politics tend to create barriers, discrimination, marginalization, whereas positive action by the state, more enlightened policies by the state bring people together. If people are comfortable with diversity, they're also less likely to discriminate, hate, or create impregnable boundaries against others. For instance, the main ideas of prejudice and discrimination are race, ethnicity, religion, belief, gender, age, and lifestyles. If the state were to encourage interfaith events, people would find a lot in common and respect each other's strengths based on their beliefs. If states could encourage the workplace to be more multiracial and multi-ethnic, both state institutions and corporate sector would find that merit is non-racial and non-ethnic. Merit comes from all sorts of backgrounds. If the state would encourage people of different ages to engage in joint activities or work together, it will soon become obvious that what may be a physical disadvantage in an older person is complemented with experience and wisdom. If the state engaged with marginalized communities, governments may find that the barriers can be easily broken and the same communities could be quite constructive in nation building in the economic and general wellness level of this country. In this series of events, we have heard how Britain set up a faith communities unit to engage with some minority communities and listen to them, how plurinational state of Bolivia has enabled two distinct communities to form a plural constitution in which all find common expression. We also heard from politicians from Switzerland on how multilingual cantons work peacefully and effectively. Today, we heard a remarkable approach taken by Brazil to make all sectors of their population, race, disability, lifestyle, and class feel inclusive in the nation. We believe these are examples that need to be shared, and states can learn from each other's best practices. Declaration by definition is not binding, but creates a pathway that states and society can travel on. A declaration that encourages states to promote diversity and make populations comfortable with diversity will complement the DDPA in spirit and in expectation. It adds value to the human rights foundations of eliminating racism and other intolerances. The proposal is also associated with DDPA. In paragraph 6 of the DDPA of 2001 Durban Declaration of the World Conference Against Racism, it says, we further affirm that all people and individuals constitute one human family, rich in diversity. They have contributed to the progress of civilizations and cultures that form the common heritage of humanity. Preservation and promotion of tolerance, pluralism, and respect for diversity can produce more inclusive societies. However, it is not just human diversity that we wish to capture in such a declaration, but also biodiversity. If we can embrace diversity in all its forms, we will cherish the environment and our attitudes toward nature as well as climate. At this stage, we have a skeleton draft on what a declaration would look like, and it will be more ambitious and going further than the UNESCO Declaration on Cultural Diversity. But a better draft can only be made with the help of friends and states that have had positive outcomes from their actions on making diversity a strong character of the country. So this is what we are proposing, a declaration on diversity which makes diversity sort of taking positive actions on making diversity inclusive so that people don't always have to resort to the law to be treated with respect and dignity. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rai, and thank you for all panelists for your insightful presentation. Thank you, Biro, and also thank you to Aline. Now the spotlight is on you, the audience. We have 15 minutes roughly for hearing your questions. If someone would like to kick off our Q&A session. Yes, please.
Sorry. I want to thank you for organizing this very interesting event. I am particularly impressed with the statement by Aline Sousa da Silva. I've been to Brazil myself 4 times, and I haven't met yet a Brazilian that has visited favelas. I went to 2 of them, and I have a feeling that she grew up in one of them, and I saw the conditions. We're talking about, some of them have 700, well, about 70,000 in one. There was another one that 500,000, and there are 700 favelas in the state of Rio. And the conditions are totally unacceptable. I spoke to a judge. There is a court of justice in one of them. And I think it is remarkable what Lula is trying to do. However, it's a difficult task, and it takes a collective effort. I don't think that the government alone, as you have pointed out, it's up to civil society, it's up to others to change the attitudes and so forth. Regarding, I see a connection between your proposed declaration and the DDPA. The reason being that I was vice president in the Durban Review Conference of 2009. That was a poisoned conference, actually. I don't think it brought anything new, and it was poisoned because of the background of the original Durban conference. I mean, the same issues were brought up, the same actors, and I think that it is important for either for a review or for something to be realigned with the new realities of a multipolar world, and rather than having a text that was, or texts that were compromised in the past. So thank you very much again. These were my comments.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Papadatos, for your insights, also declaration. Anyone else who would like to ask a question or make a remark? If there is no one at this stage, maybe Dr. Rai, do you want to say something?
Okay. Thank you for that question and, well, the observation as well. I think you're right about Brazil, and I think one of the remarkable things about Aline that she's pointing out is that President Lula is also trying to lift the barriers of class. There's a lot discussed in the human rights field about race, religion, belief, age, and everything, but rarely is there any discussion on class. And in many countries, people who are economically deprived become a substrata who are then marginalized, and nothing is being done. There are no, I mean, I live in a country, Britain, in which class is quite famous. Class is one of the most entrenched things in there. And I often say to some working class people that I have better rights than you. I can go to the law if I am discriminated, but you have no recourse. Yeah? And that, unless there are positive action, it's it's very interesting, enlightening that President Lula is now trying to not modify, but improve the situation, break barriers. It will, of course, take a long time to get the favelas functioning, you know, with everybody having a house and things like that. And I do agree with your observations about the Durban. I think we focus too much on the law, and lawyers would like everybody to focus on the law. But I think unless there are changes in attitudes, the law in itself cannot achieve what we wish to achieve. Thank you. Biro?
Well,
Maybe before
Thank you. I would like to respond to Dr. Rice's comments. You mentioned class. I think class is also related with the income and wealth inequalities in those countries. And we see that even in the bureaucracies, in the universities, and everywhere else. And there's also political inequalities in the sense that the rich get the best universities, the best education, the best skills, and they get the best position in society. So, and this is something that has not been touched upon very much. And this is something we have to think about and how to resolve that, either through probably greater government intervention or greater welfare state or more taxation. Thank you.
thank you, George. States have, in accordance with the UN Charter and the principle of international law, the sovereign right to adopt measures and policy to protect, promote the diversity of cultural expression within their territory. I think the one former writer, French writer, Antoine Saint-Exupéry said, if I differ from you, my brother, from harming you, I increase you. We can build inclusive society if I'm looking, you are human, and we can trust other and to recover, dignify more our society and strengthen democracy and protect minorities who are confronted everywhere, every day, discrimination and intolerance, all form racial discrimination. And the initiative we made, I hope, right now on, the committee adopt, or we are confronting the clash between the same problem happened in Durban during adoption of DDPA, coming against for adoption of complementary norm standard regarding the politicization and also polarization with member states. Maybe we can find some common vision about diversity issue, with the universal values and the cultural values who Europe, Africa, Asia have common values regarding human, you have same blood. The blood is red. It's important to come together and you look, your brother is a human being, and we can enrich more our society, and the society can be more tolerant, and we can live together, and by mutual respect and understanding the others, who you are from, who is your problems in the past and today. which is my concern. I said against the problem for me is not the declaration is important, but it's the policy, state policy, and the norm and the implementation. D'où la nécessité les ONG pour travailler ensemble, parce que les ONG ont été divisées à Durban, parce que les politiques ont inféodé les organisations sur plusieurs questions. Donc nous n'avons pas, et jusqu'à présent, je vous dis parce que j'ai fui un des coordonnateurs organisateurs de la conférence d'examen de Durban, du Forum de la société civile à Genève en avril 2009. Les gens nous ont menacés et certaines ONG ont saboté tout ce qu'on faisait. On a dit, bon, il y a 10 ans, il faut tirer les leçons du passé pour travailler ensemble. Différents, mais on peut construire quelque chose ensemble et de durable. J'estime que ce projet de diversité culturelle, si vous allez, je travaille depuis 20 ans à l'OMPI, au comité intergouvernemental sur les savoirs traditionnels, la propriété intellectuelle relative au folklore et aux ressources génétiques. Nous allons maintenant vers l'adoption d'une convention internationale. La conférence diplomatique sur les savoirs traditionnels aura lieu l'année prochaine. C'est une occasion pour nous de partager notre philosophie auprès des États parce qu'ils ont accepté le principe d'une conférence diplomatique sur les savoirs traditionnels. Et je me limite là. Merci beaucoup.
I see that Mr. Bars also wanted to ask a question. Do you want to ask a question? Just be short because we have only 4 minutes left.
Two things. There was only one expert that I saw on the right to development mechanism who said that and asserted that same racism exists, but everyone doesn't want to bring that up. And when I mentioned it to some African states, they said, of course, look at what happened in Africa. One tribe thinks they're more superior than the other. The other thing is this DDPA, it seems to be dying. And European states seem to be killing it, and maybe some other states are acquiescing. What are you guys going to do?
Maybe a very short remark from Dr. Rai and from Mr. Diawara.
Well, I think your last remark has some substance in it, and what we are offering is a bit more a new vaccination for it, and bringing in the Declaration on Diversity, I think will revive the DDPA and add life to it.
Oui, c'est vrai, il y a des problèmes de tribus en Afrique. C'est vrai parce que depuis la traite transatlantique, la colonisation, il y avait des chefferies dans chaque société, mais on vivait ensemble dans l'harmonie. Mais les colons sont venus pour donner plus de pouvoir à des groupes et qui vendaient leurs frères. Pourquoi cela? Et ça continue parce que, mais l'Afrique a évolué. L'Afrique d'hier et d'aujourd'hui est différente et il y a des caractéristiques, même les noms, on a plus de temps. Parce que l'Afrique a donné la charte de Kourkanfouga, 1234, première charte avant Magna Carta, avant la charte de la Déclaration universelle. Et ça a été adopté où? Dans la frontière entre mon pays et le Mali, la Guinée et le Mali. Tous les chefs traditionnels, les tribus se sont mis ensemble pour définir les normes de la société, de la diversité, vivre ensemble. Même l'environnement, le respect de la dignité humaine. Et donc, vous parlez de la mort de Durban. Non, Durban n'est pas mort. C'est parce qu'on est là aujourd'hui pour revitaliser justement la déclaration que tous les États membres des Nations Unies ont adoptée. Et après, il y a eu le 11 septembre, la bombe qui ne s'est pas explosée à Durban a provoqué le 11 septembre. Et je me limite là, mais nous allons continuer à revitaliser parce que ça nous unit. Pour moi, c'est comme une Bible, la déclaration de Durban. Donc, il faut que chacun s'en approprie. Merci.
Merci beaucoup. Merci pour votre participation. Durban n'est pas morte. On est là pour la revitaliser. Et on va finir maintenant.